Good morning. I want to read Jesus' words one more time and ask a question to you this morning. The question is, what do you do when you are condemned by another person? When you're judged, not in an appraisal, not in a brother coming saying, I think this action may have been something you should rethink, but when you get condemnation, when you get you're this kind of person, when you get the onslaught of another's condemnation of you, what should you do? Well, Jesus again in verse 4 and 5, or how can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye when there is the log in your own eye? You hypocrite, first take the log out of your own eye, then you'll see clearly to take the speck out of your brother's eye. A temptation when someone condemns us is for us to turn around and say, yeah, but you. And all we've done there is just basically said, well, you've got a log in your eye and I've got a speck in my eye. But that ends up really meaning that we have a log in our own eye. You're just flipping it around and doing the same thing back to them. So how should you respond when you have someone who condemns you, right? Well, here's two things. The first is you should probably pause and you might have the courage to think, yep, they're wrong in what they're doing, but is there anything right in what they're saying? They're wrong in what they're doing, but is there any kernel of truth in what they're saying? Now, that's hard to do because we feel offended, we feel defensive, we feel frustrated and upset, and we want to lash back out, but we have to pause and be mature enough to say, is there any truth? Is there any truth in what's being said? I think that's a mark of tremendous, not just spiritual maturity, but I actually think it's a mark of tremendous emotional maturity. You have a high EQ if you're able to hold your naturally defensive emotions at bay and ask, is there any truth? There's a second thing, though, and that is you have to remind yourself that that person actually doesn't have the power to condemn, right? They don't have the power to legislate over your life. Listen to Dallas Willard. Who is this one condemning me, I ask, when set beside that one, capital O, that one who does not condemn me? I think I shall not be depressed about this condemnation of me then, especially since I know that, quote, nothing can separate me from the eternal love of Christ, Romans 8:33-35. Willard's saying, listen, when this one condemning me is set alongside one who, according to Romans 8:1, there is no condemnation for those who are in Christ, and I'm not condemned by him, I'm not really sweating their condemnation. So the second response after you assess, is there any truth in this, is to say, you know what? I'm not going to sweat it, because the condemnation, now this is again, not that I just blow it off and go, well, there's nothing here. And we can certainly give appraisal to right, wrong, and morally right, morally wrong acts. And we should receive appraisal of morally right and morally wrong acts. We should receive admonishment from another. Admonishment is not condemnation. Condemnation is a legislation of judgment. It's a legislation that we are away from God. Now, what do we do in that? Well, we don't let them define us. Instead, we let God define us, because he is the one who speaks legislatively over us, not another. May the Lord encourage you, and may the Lord bless you today.